Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call this public hearing / regular school board meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent Board of Trustees, today being Monday, March 28th, 2022. Madam Secretary, would you please call roll?
Mr. Contreras,
Present.
Ms. Guanajuato Webb,
Present.
Ms. Haynes,
Here.
Mr. Mesa,
Here.
Mr. Oberfeld,
I'm here.
Mr. Smith. Yes, sir. So we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members, and that this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time we'll have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Once again, good evening and welcome. Now, the last meeting, we had lots of people here, and so today it seems like we have very few. But again, welcome. We don't have any citizens to be heard. Item 5 on the agenda, citizens to be heard. No one signed up. So we'll go to item 6, public hearing. 2020-2021 Texas Academic Performance Report to taper in accordance with Texas Education Code 39.306. Item 1 is
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Tonight, we do have a public hearing to highlight and give information on the Texas Academic Performance Report that does come out once a year. The district did send over the binders. And we did include this presentation at the beginning to kind of show the 7 criteria that will be discussed tonight. Those are the required components, and to kind of give you a little bit of time to look that information over. As mentioned, there are 7 required components. It's the taper actual report, which includes all the accountability, the financial ratings, the district accreditation status, the House Bill 3 goals and measures, the district's current special ed compliance status, the report of violent and criminal incidents, and performance of the previous year's graduates in their first year of college. The very first slide, or on the 3rd page, does show that the special ed determination status of needs assistance has been cleared. So in 2019, the last time the report came out, they were needing assistance, and since then, this last report does show that they cleared that component. Board members, slides 3 through 13 will list all the accountability by grade level, by content. You'll see that on your copy, there is another copy in your book, in your binder, for tonight's presentation. Everything that's for the 2021 is highlighted in yellow. So what it does is it compares 2 years. Normally, in a year where we had been held with an accountability status, it would have compared 2020 to 2021. Instead, you're going to see 2019 to 2021. We did not have any kind of accountability in 2020, therefore we have no data. You'll see that it starts with 3rd grade reading. Every single assessment is going to show you the approaches, meets, and masters. It will show you the school year, again, comparing 2 years. It'll show you how the state did, our region center, Region 15, our region, and our district. Then it breaks it up into accountability demographics. So you'll see third grade reading, everything is highlighted in yellow, followed by third grade math, fourth grade reading, fourth grade math. We will no longer take a standalone writing test. Fifth grade reading, fifth grade math, and fifth grade science. Again, that would be all the elementary. You do have it in front with the approaches, the meets, and the masters for 2 years. Board members, you will notice that in 2020, we did not have an accountability rating. We know that the students were at home, mostly learning remotely, not just here, but across the state of Texas. You'll see that in many instances, actually in all instances for elementary, our 2021 ratings did decrease from our 2019. And that's just by looking at the 2 columns. As we move forward to the next slide, you'll see the same situation, the same scenario and data for the 6th grade math. Again, with approaches, meets, and masters for 2 years. It does compare the state, the district, and the region. We do have the 7th grade reading, 7th grade math. Again, we will not have a 7th grade standalone writing. 8th grade reading, 8th grade math, and 8th grade science and social studies. The data for this past year, 2021, is highlighted in yellow just to make it a little bit easier for us to follow. When you compare our 2 years, you will see that in most cases, we did take a drop for this past year after the 2020 remote learning. In social studies at 8th grade, we did highlight it in green. You will see that at a 10%, we were higher than the region. It is important to note that because for many years, social studies 8th grade has been very stagnant. So this particular year, they were able to make some gains, and you can tell that it is an area of difficulty, with the region only being at 9%. We continue on with end of course English 1, end of course English 2, end of course Algebra 1. You'll see here that Algebra 1 also was above the state by 1% from the region, from a 69 to a 70. You'll see end of course Biology. Same format, approaches, meets, and masters. End of course U.S. history, and those would be all the end of course scenarios. Yes.
Share with the district. So if we look at these tables, you can see that if we look back at the previous years, you can see where we had closed the gap with the state and the region, and in a lot of areas we had even moved ahead of the state and the region. So then we have to ask ourselves what happened this last year, particularly in the middle and elementary grades, because as you see the secondary scores, our gap to the state and the region are just one, 2, or 3 points, but at the middle school and elementary, the gap seems bigger. The reality is that, particularly in our region that are closer to San Angelo, there wasn't a whole lot of remote learning. Those schools stayed open the entire year. But that just accentuates our loss of learning that is now shown in the report. But I feel confident with the extended year that we're going to have this year and the extended day that the elementaries are having, that those gaps will go ahead and return within 2 to 3 years to what they were prior to 2019. Nobody's making an excuse. We're just pointing out that's what we're facing and why we're facing that. But now in the next slides that Ms. Gomez is going to review, that reflect probably numerous years of learning, then you'll start to see where we are and continue to be above the region and state. But again, this is the next step of the accountability that looks at the cumulative learning, not just 1 year. So she'll explain that as well.
So we are on page, it's 9 in the packet. With all the assessments out of the way now, the taper starts looking at things like SAT, CCMR, and so forth. You'll see here the SAT, ACT, all subjects at the approaches level. We were at a 99% above the state and the region. Our meets and masters wasn't that high, but we are getting our students closer to closing that gap. We continue on. And what it's doing now, board members, is it's actually looking at all grade levels. So instead of third grade reading, fourth grade reading, fifth grade reading, it's saying reading across the district. When it says all grade levels, and you'll see it over here to the left of the packet, all grade levels in writing, or all grade levels in science, or all grade levels in social studies, and that's what it's comparing. Again, we've highlighted the current year, 2021, in yellow. The next page is just a summary across the board. It just kind of condenses all of the content. And then it continues again with all grade, all subjects, all grade ELA reading, all grades mathematics, writing, science, and social studies. On page 14, it starts giving you the participation. It's very important that we also track participation. That's part of the accountability system. And that's the reason that the principals work very hard at the campus level on their CTCs to ensure that we have adequate makeup days. So if the student is absent, we still want them to come in and assess. You'll see it's the 2021 STAR participation compared to the 2019 on the same page, because in 2020, we did not take an assessment. So those are the first 13 pages that talk about the accountability, and I can move on into to the attendance unless you'd like me to stop at this point and take any questions. You can always come back.
I think we're on.
Yes, sir.
Mm.
The next part that the taper does report on is our attendance. Again, you'll see 3 numbers highlighted in yellow. You'll see the state at a 98.3. This is for 2019-2020. The state's at a 98.3. The region is a 98.6. And our district came in at a 98.5, ahead of the region, ahead of the state, actually. I know we're very concerned about attendance, but this is, again, because of all the work the campuses do, the parental aides, everybody who's trying to get the students in. What it does on the next parts of the report is it's going to go back to 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. It gives you data for 4 to 5 years. Here we missed 2020. The next thing that we're going to look at on page 17 is our graduation. You'll see here that for the class of 2020, and right here it talks about FSHSP is your foundational high school program with the distinguished levels of achievement. And you'll see here that the state came in at an 83.5. The region had 76.6 students, and we had 94.5 students. While it is the foundational program, they did earn their distinguished level of achievement. We go now to the recommended high school program plan with a It's a distinguished, it's not a level of achievement. And I apologize, it's a distinguished academic plan that they graduate under. And you'll see that the state came in at an 87.8, the region at an 85.6, and our district at a 94.5. We always have to commend the high school counselors. They're constantly looking at every student, making sure that everybody's graduating with either an endorsement or some kind of criterion that's going to earn them these points. You'll see on the next page when it starts dividing it up. For our 2019-2020 graduates under the foundational plan, again, we came in at a 92.3. Under the recommended high school plan, again with a distinguished academic program, we came in at a 92.3, ahead of the region at an 84.1 and the state at an 85.8. On this page, which is page 18, it really breaks it down. It talks about graduation type. These are all the different graduation types. You'll see that we have two. We use the foundational high school with no endorsement. Many of our IEPs for students in special populations will actually say that there's no endorsement. That is the graduation plan that they have. Here we had 57 students who did graduate under the foundational plan. They did not have an endorsement, but they did meet all the graduation requirements. The impressive part is when you look at the foundational high school program with that distinguished level of achievement, and we're at a 92.3, a very high percentage. Then if you look at the next four subpopulations, our special ed graduates at a 9.3 compared to the state at an 8.1. Economically disadvantaged, we had a 67.9 compared to the state at 52%. Our emergent bilingual English language learners at a 9.0 compared to our 8.2% for the state. And our at-risk graduates graduated 58.8% compared to 41.3. All those four populations outperformed the state averages. Our CCMR, College Career Military Readiness, continues to excel. You'll see here that in 2019-2020, our CCMR graduates came in at a 66.8, higher than the state, a little lower than the district. Then it goes to our college-ready graduates. You'll see we're at a 53%. You'll see under TSI, we were at a 39-40%. Our TSI graduates, I'm sorry, that was in reading. In math, we were at a 30.7%. And in both subjects, we're at a 27.4. It does compare you to the state and the region. Our students, however, who were in advanced placement courses, 8.6% of our annual graduates compared to the state at 21% and the region at 6.2. Associates, students graduating with their associates, 8.8% compared to the state at 2.1 and the region at 2.4, so about 4 times as many. Our dual course credits, 47.6. It's a little higher than the region at 46.2 and the state at a 24.6. Our on-ramps, 6.7% compared to the state at 4.0 and the region at 2.7. Our college and career ready military graduates, 38.1%, higher than both the state and the region. And our approved industry-based certification, you hear a lot about that in the CT program, 29.8 compared to the state at 13.2 and the region at 17.1. Another area the CT program in early college high school promote is the level 1 or level 2 certificates. San Felipe Del Rio had a 9.7% compared to the region at a 3.4 and the state at a 0.7. And then graduates who completed IEP and workforce readiness, 3.4%, again higher than the state and the region. Our TSIA, students are working very, very hard. You have to pass your TSIA in order to take dual credit courses in reading and math. You'll see here that in math and in both subjects, when you accumulate them, we did outperform the state and or the region. Again, our advanced placement, this is participation rate. We do have a very high participation rate. And the bottom graph does show your actual percentages of passing. Again, they're highlighted in yellow. Our SAT and ACT results, when you combine them for all examinees, we came in at 34.8%. The region was at 28.6 and the state was at 35.7, so just a little bit below the state. But our average SAT and ACT scores outperformed the region, and in some cases, the region and the state. For instance, here, English language, arts, and writing, our score was a 515 average, the region of 505 and the state of 515. Same thing in the ACT. Advanced dual credit courses, any subject. Completion, 55% of our students completed compared to 42% and 46% for the state and the region. English language arts is a 35.8 compared to a 17.9 and 18.2. In math, we came in at a 35.8. I'm sorry, a 13.8, and the region came in at 13.7. Science was a 17.4 and social studies a 27.8, higher than both the state and the region. This is important here, CTE coherent sequence. That means that here it shows 49.5 of our students, or no, I'm sorry, 75.9 of our students completed the pathway that they started. It was coherent, they didn't alter. So a couple of things. One, probably a lot of guidance from the counselors, helping them to prepare, giving them guidelines and expectations, and then two, a lot of support from the teachers and counselors throughout their 4 year. Because if you look, you'll see that the state's at a 58%, so about 4 out of every 10 students actually changed their path. The next pages, which would be pages 23 to 25, is just your student demographics. How many students we have in kinder, by ethnicity, first grade, so forth. Different programs, different platforms. And then the last 3 pages of this report, 26 to 28, is the teacher and staff data. How many kinder teachers do we have? What is the average class ratio, salary, so forth. So that's the information that is compiled in the TAPER report that must be reported on. Aside from the binders that were delivered to your homes, we also do have a binder at all the campus libraries or offices, along with district departments. That's component 1. Unless there are any questions, I can go on for components 2 through 7.
Board members?
Talking about associate's degree, I mean, we can attribute that to the fact that we have the ECHS as part of so much higher than the state debt, which is a great thing.
The gains that were made were wonderful, but it seemed like it's concentrated on the on-ramps. For example, dual course, more students taking dual course credit courses. The associate degree, as Mr. Orfeld mentioned, the career in military readiness, the approved industry board certificates. And then, of course, graduates at level 1 and level 2. It was great to see that the city students following through with what they started, 75%. And so that seems to be the concentrated area of gains. And it's hard to not have the scores from 2020, which, was the COVID start. And so it's difficult for us to kind of gauge where we're at, but I'm glad to see that we have things in place for extended year. I think the only, and we'll talk about the other things, but I think, at this point, I'm looking at attendance and how substantially it has decreased since some time back. But I don't see any improvement just recently that it's going in the right direction. It's still trending down. But it's good to see all these other areas, especially in the secondary. Every time we have the top 20, we hear how many students are already at the associate's degree level. And so that's wonderful to hear. And of course, great things are happening with the early college. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go on to the 1 and 2 and 3.
President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board, components 2 and 3 are the financial rating and the district accreditation. The financial status under first received an A rating. We do have that documented here for the 2020-2021 school year. On March 4th, 2021, the Commissioner of Education did note that we would not be getting an accountability rating for the 2019-2020 school year. This is the notice that's here. He has informed us that this year we will receive an A, B, or C rating. Anybody who receives a D or an F rating will be shown as an NA. So the only ratings that will be alpha will be an A, B, or C. You'll see here that in 2019, our rating was a B, and we had an 86 on that scale score. So we are going to anticipate a rating this year. The next part is our House Bill 3 goals, and we do have House Bill 3 for reading and for math. I'll explain the chart for the reading, and the math follows the same. So in 2019, we had a baseline. Up here, there's a district goal, and the 8 elementary campuses are across the top. You'll see that there's a 2019 baseline, and then in 2020, we didn't have any accountability, so we kept the same goal and actually started that year for our 5-year goal. So that's why you'll see 2019 followed by 2020, and they're exactly the same goal. So 2020 comes around, and that's when we find out there's no accountability, no rating, so it's an NA. But we have to continue with the 5-year goal. It's not like they said, okay, you get to skip a goal. You still have to meet your goal within 5 years. So working with the principals and a lot of formulas here, you'll see, for instance, in order for the district to meet their goal of 62% in 2025, there has to be a goal for 2021, 2022, 23, 24, and 25. And that's the same for every campus. So again, if I'm looking at Buena Vista in 2019, they had a baseline of a 37% for reading at the meets level. This is not approaches. This is at the meets level. 39% of their students have to meet the meet level. In 2020, that goal stayed the same if I'm still following Buena Vista. In 2020, we didn't have accountability, so there's an NA listed. Their goal for 2021 was a 39% in reading. When the goals came out, when the percentages came out, the accountability in 2021, they did have a 39%. So they met their target targeted goal. Their new goal for this year is a 42. So once those ratings come out for the meets category in reading, we'll be able to fill this column. You'll see the same format for Lonnie Green, North Heights, Garfield, Lamar, Chavita, Galadon, and RBB. At the very end, you'll see RBB had a baseline of 75%. In 2021, their goal was an 80. They actually scored an 82. So they met their goal plus 2 points. Our other campuses in the middle have their 2021 goal shown and then their actual 2021 goal, or I should say percentage met. So they had a goal and then this was their actual met percentage. And you'll see at Lonnie Green, they were short by 16 points, North Heights 17 points, Garfield 8 points, Lamar 13 points, Chavita 25 points, and Galadon 9 in reading. For third grade math, same format. The difference here is that all the campuses, including the district goal, did not meet. So the district missed it by 13 points, Buena Vista by 19, North Heights by 25, Garfield by 13, Lamar by 25, Chavita by 32, Galadon by 11, and RBB by 15. Those are the gaps that we know we've been seeing and the teachers have been talking about. But again, with the extended tutorials, with the strategies that are being done in the classroom, we hope to make up much of those gaps. The third part of the House Bill 3 goal is the CCMR. In 2020, there was a target of 74% of all our students being college, career, or military ready. There's 10 different criterions. If they take an on-ramps course, if they graduate with an associate's, if they take a dual credit, any of those for them, that 1 point that they need. We want to get to 100%. Our target was a 94. In 2021, our target is a 77. Unfortunately, this one won't come out until the fall of this year because this one does lag an entire year. So you'll see that in 2020, their goal was a 74. They earned a 67. This year, their goal is a 77. Again, it's going to take into account everything that was done in 2020, 2021. So even though we have a new principal and a lot of new initiatives this year, that won't show up until next year. This one's a lagging indicator. Under component 6 for report of violent or criminal incidents, we had none. The entire report shows absolutely no violent reports, so you'll see zeros. And finally, the performance of previous year graduates in their first year of college, and you'll see here it's just a list. For blended early college and Del Rio High School, and it'll list if students weren't found based on how many graduates, how many went to a 2-year, how many went to an independent college, how many went to a 4-year, not trackable or not found. It only, I think Mr. Smith had asked me a couple of years ago if it would track more than 1 year. We did research it. It will only track that first. That is in 2020 where all our students went. Those were the colleges that they went to that we could find. You will see at the bottom, we have 408 that were not found, but across the top, 120, Southwest Texas Junior College, UTSA 35, Texas A&M 20, University of Texas 12, Angelo, State University 11, Texas A&M Corpus Christi 11, Texas Tech 8, Texas Tech University 7, Glenn 6, and then it goes on to other. And are there any questions?
Board members, questions? Ms. Gomez, I think the only other thing that I see trending down is, or trending up, I should say, is dropout rate. And so these have been very different times. And I see that across the board with attendance, but I'm concerned with the dropout rate. It increased by like 1 percentage point. It's up to 2 point something.
The annual dropout rate for seventh and eighth grade showed a 0.8% in 2019-20. And for grades 9 through 12, we did go from a 2.2 to a 2.5. That was 19, we didn't track 20, and then 2021. It did increase.
And a couple of years back, we had the tendency of moving students on to the next grade level without meeting the criteria, either for grades or test requirements. And so it's going to continue showing where these students are not well prepared to receive their credits for the courses in secondary. I hope we can recover these students and do substantial work to make sure that it doesn't continue trending upwards in percentage. But again, I'm pleased when I compare our district with others, things that we have planned for future academic growth with the loss of learning through virtual again, students not attending face-to-face. So we hope to have an extended year, and I hope we have those that need to be in attendance attend the planned activities throughout the district. Anyone else? Mr. Smith?
Just a couple of comments. I mean, at the end of the day, this is, there's some good, bad, different, some disheartening. But at the end of the day, it's a restart. And we lost some traction. Some of the reports that restart. And how we're doing it. So up to us as a board, we're heading in that direction. For the long run, it's just the blip. Say I'm ashamed of how it managed this correct past couple of years, but so I'm not sick of this. It's got a lot to be proud of, and we stand behind us. Confident, when we look at it over the long run.
Ms. Webb? Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I just want to add that we have seen a lot of things with the high school, with the CTE programs and everything that they're doing. When I looked at the 2-3 report and I look back, I think no excuses given, of course, but due to the circumstances, we have reverted back to where we were a couple of years ago. And I know that if we were able to move forward and make those gains, we can do it again. And hopefully when we do, we will be above the state. We don't want to be just above the region, but we want to be above the state level. And I think we owe it to our students. And I think we have the professional staff to be able to do that. Because if we've done it before, we can definitely do it again. But we've learned from those 2 years, so we can definitely do it better. But congratulations to the high school, the CTE program, the students that are achieving. I would like to see what other students and what other universities these students went to, like the ones that go out of state. If we can find how many of those students went out of state so that we can kind of track those as well, because those are great accomplishments for our students, And it all falls back on motivation from the teachers, from the counselors, from their parents. And everybody needs to be given credit for what it is that they're doing. But I know that we can bounce back. We just have to move forward and
Thank you for those comments.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Yes.
Dr. Lewis?
Part that didn't mention, I think it's huge, is, or at least not in the comments, was SAT score and ACT score. I think that on the average, in terms of the number of students tested, and increase the number, we're having those discussions. But for the students that are testing, in a lot of areas, the average scores, those are scores that are more difficult than the TSI. It's just nice to see that our graduates are scoring a higher average than graduates on the average throughout the state. Both for the wealth and for the doors that are open for them because of the residents. That says a lot about our teachers that are building that foundation for the students and then the final ones working with them.
That's a real positive to me. Thank you. This time, we'll call for public comments on, again, the table report. Any public comments from the audience? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the public hearing and go on to our regular meeting. First item we have is item 8, reports, and for attendance and discipline report. Michelle Smith.
Usually I share with the board, Mr. Mesa, that we've included in the packet, but because it's attendance, I'd like Mr. Payne, the board, and Michelle, to at least show the slide through the one that compares first 6 weeks, second 6 weeks, because at least in the last couple of weeks, we have seen a turn for the better. And I just wanted to share that with the board. So,
Good evening, Mr. Meza, Dr. Rios, members of the board. I have on the overhead here a comparison of term 1 through today. So we can see, for example, for the district, our term, a little bit bigger.
This report. Pass it.
So for example, for term 1, we can see for the district, we were at 90.06%. We did increase going to term 2 to 92.36. Term 3 held steady a little bit at 92.01. But then we can see what happened after the holidays and with the increase in the COVID cases, with our attendance dropping down to a 79.74 for term 4. So as of today, with term 5 for the district, we're looking at 90.03. A cumulative attendance report as of today is sitting at 88.98%. Keeping in mind that these numbers are very fluid, that the campuses are constantly reconciling their attendance. So hopefully we will see, we will end the year at a higher than an 88.98%. And then we have the numbers broken down by campus as well.
Yeah, just one question. There was some type of waiver that we were talking about. We're gonna do that from an attendance and a compensation standpoint.
Unfortunately, Mr. Smith, at the beginning of the 4th 6 weeks, which is what we're calling term 4, attendance throughout the state started taking a nosedive. And the state said, well, wait a minute, rather than open up the waiver system and have y'all submit thousands of waivers, let's just wait and we'll address it statewide. Through today, the state has not provided a remedy yet And the remedies that they tossed around are not, don't even address term 4. So the service centers are still working with the commissioner to see what he's gonna be able to provide. It'll take a while, but by the day we achieve what we call a settled update, when the state says, okay, this is what your attendance was, this is how much we owe you or how much you owe us, we hope that he will have a resolution by then. But through today, he has not offered something that addresses the entire state. And I talked to some superintendents over the last week to see where their attendance was in comparison to ours, and everybody is hurting. There's some bigger districts. As a matter of fact, the last superintendent I spoke with was superintendent in Abilene. They're not in our region, but we have communication over some other issues. And theirs was also well below 80% in terms of
So have we done any financial worst case risk analysis to figure out what that financial impact could be?
Yes, sir. We're trying to put those reports ready so that in the first or second board workshop that we have, we can present those to you all along with other.
Some guidance. Okay, thank you.
Well, Mrs. Smith, I want to say this is the best news that I've heard for some time. I see how everyone has made an attempt to improve, and it's wonderful because I just attended a meeting in Austin, and it seems like we don't hear the word hold harmless for attendance, and our funding is going to be affected substantially if what Dr. Rios mentioned, if we're held to the numbers that we have most of the time. So I'm glad to see an improvement across every school. And I know that it can't be done because we've seen the numbers before. So I'm glad that something is being done. Thank you so much. Does anyone need to have the whole report or question on the attendance? I'm glad that you included this one because it's not enough. Yes, Ms. Wynn.
I just have a question. Michelle. What can we do with Glendon? They're the only ones that are at a 77% in attendance. So are there any ideas of what can be done to at least get them up to par with everybody else? 80s, 88s, 90s. Even Cardwell is at 85 right now, and they're little. So, but I don't know if there's something that would motivate them to be in attendance.
And that is pretty much a reflection of their 8th grade students. So I think Ms. Ndate would probably be best to address that.
We'll work plan for particularly blended, and we'll update you on the board update and even at the next meeting so that we can see what thoughts principals have and come on and send them what we will.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Rios.
So, looking at the board members, in the past, because of the pandemic, we had asked the principals to not do attendance competitions and that sort of stuff, but I think we can all agree that we're beyond that. I think we're back to state normal, and we can continue to provide rewards and healthy competition between classrooms and grade levels and campuses for attendance. So principals, have at it. Only 2 thumbs up, it's okay.
I'm sorry, I should have asked discipline. Did anybody have a question on discipline report? And we'll go on to the next report, which is going to be the facilities and construction update. Ms. Rocava.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the school board. I'd like to present the facilities and construction report, which will consist of the life skills at freshman campus, the Sinisa Hills Elementary, and roofing contracts. At the life skills renovation, pleased to say that the rough ends have been completed and inspected, and that the water line has been brought into the building. Also, the corner screens and gates have been installed. On the Sinisa Hills Elementary project, welding continues on the structural steel, and we are waiting on the joist to arrive sometime this week, hopefully early, like tomorrow. Also, at the Sinisa Hills Elementary, they're installing the main sewer connections and installing the water main. The roofing projects, the TPO roofing, as you can see here, is Lamar has been completed. At North Heights Elementary, the TPO roof has been completed. Also, the TPO roof at San Felipe Memorial Middle School at Building B, North and South, are complete. And the roofs that are pending are the SPC. Here is the tile and TPO. At Cardwell, we have the cafeteria, which is a non-TPO, and then the San Felipe Memorial Middle School tile. Are there any questions?
Mr. Smith?
The way you've got the Sinisa Hills tools, can you do that to the life skills unit, where you've actually got a plan, completion date?
Yes, sir.
On the pending items,
Yes, sir. Okay.
And then the other thing is, so we're behind on the structural steel, or
I think that we're behind on the joist, and they were apparently shipped to the wrong place, and now they found them, and now they're on their way, and said should be here this week.
cover, so we've lost 2 full weeks, a week and a half, or what?
It's longer than that. First, it took a while to get them manufactured, and then, for whatever reason, it took a lot longer to get them. So as far as receiving them, it's starting to work, we're at least 3 weeks behind. Now, the contractor has been doing other work to move the project along, and what he shared with us as of today is that there's enough room built in the roofing part of it, because once those joists go up, then the roofers are ready to go. They've just been on standby waiting. They think they have enough time built in, they can catch up and bring us back to date. So can you go back to the slide? It has a date there for the roofing as well. Sinisa Hills. If we look at the roofing, it says that it'll be done by 5/6 of 2022. And they feel confident that if they get the joist this week, they'll be able to catch up right about that time over the week.
And still meet the 5-6 date, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
So they got a recovery plan, but,
Yes.
thank you.
I know we have a change order on this, Janisa Hills, so that'll be later on during the, just so we can ask questions, we don't know. Okay, I guess we'll go to maintenance report.
Yes. To go over the maintenance work order report, as you can see here, on the 30 day, we were up 14. On the 60 day, we were down 19. And then on the 90 day, we were up 3 with 90% completion rate. With technology, they were down 93 on the 30 day, down 36 on the 60 day, and down 9 on the 90, for 97% completion rate. And then transportation was up 11 on the 30 day, down 2 on the 60-day, and up 2 on the 90-day for 95% completion. Complete the presentation. Let's see any questions.
I guess we don't have any questions. Thank you so much. Next report we have is item 8C, calendar survey update by Dave Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and school board members. Last month, we brought to present 2 calendar options that were created during our district planning and decision-making committee. And after the board meeting, we sent a survey to all staff to vote on the calendar of their choosing. And today, we're going to present the results. Before we do that, just give you, go back and see what those calendar options were. So first, here's a list of all the common components of the 2 calendars. So this is basically the holidays and the start day and end day. Then the differences from option 1, total work days was 190 days and a half. And for option 2, 187. Option 1 had RTIs, where option 2 did not have any. Work days for option 2 was 2.5 days, where option 2 has 3 days. And winter break was December 19th through the 30th. And for option 2, it was extended by 1 more day, so December 19th to the 2nd. On option 2, we also included 2 additional holidays, one on October the 10th, and then the one that I mentioned earlier here on January 1st. There was a total of 501 responses. There was only 81 votes for option 1 and a total of 420 for option 2. Here we have a graph that indicates the total responses by employee type. So paraprofessionals for option 1, 57 voted. For option paraprofessionals, 22. And there's a 2 right here for our auxiliary staff. For option 2, we had 275 professionals, 117 paraprofessional, and 28 auxiliary. This is a copy of the calendar. We did have a full page on your packet, so you could read it easier. And we also had an open-ended question for comments in the survey, and there was 34 responses, and those were also shared with you through a board communique, and there's also a copy in your packet. Any questions at this time?
Mr. Smith?
So, first of all, the one that caught my eye, was the one with little hearts on it. We all deserve a raise, or everybody deserves a raise, or something. A question, because I don't know the process. When we how are spring break weeks established?
First thing that we do, selecting spring break, is we try to be in line with Southwest Texas Junior College, because we share a lot of dual credit classes with some actual instructors from Southwest Texas. And then after that, I would say it mainly has to do with the teachers on the committee. That's the first thing that we do. Is there any process that I'm missing?
You are correct, and sometimes we don't have the date, so we just kind of get an idea, but the date has been confirmed.
So does UIL, I guess my question is really related to if there's an attempt to do district alignment, Laredo and pass and line to where maybe the UIL competitions could be a gap in that same week where those kids that are in those competitive events could adhere to the holiday, or is UIL schedule all that separate from spring break weeks, or how's that work out?
You know, it's unfortunate because UIL gives us a time frame They say you must have district certification by X state.
Okay.
And they don't, UL doesn't dictate a week off for spring break where there should be no competition. Because it would be difficult for UIL at the state level to say, this is what benefits San Antonio schools, this is what benefits Laredo schools, these are best for Del Rio. So they don't take a stab at that, and the Laredo community is gonna be different than ours. So their coaches have to work during their spring break if they're competing against us and vice versa. And we see that all the time.
Sure, I'm just wondering if there'd be alignment that we could do with those boards to align it where they could observe it.
Which, I'm not saying we can't have a conversation, but I know that for them, Laredo, for example, works through A&M, TAMU, Texas A&M, and Laredo.
Yeah,
So they have to abide by
Connect there.
that piece.
that, yeah, I get it, okay. No worries, just a question. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes, Ms. Wood?
I noticed that one of the calendars had RTI days and the other one didn't. Were the RTI days beneficial to our district with a teacher planning during that time or not? Because I noticed that option 2 doesn't have any RTI days.
Two things, ma'am. So first, I think they're incredibly beneficial. But having said that, since I guess, the closer to the beginning of the school year, we instituted common planning times at the elementaries where they have 3 hours of planning every week. And a lot of what was accomplished during RTI, it's built into the component, a protocol for planning where they reviewed the data. So we feel that a whole lot of this can be covered during that time. So now what we're working with is working with the middle school principals and then the high school principals to see how we can expand that planning time as well. Because it was incredibly valuable. So we're just trying to see how we replicate it during those planning periods.
That was going to be my next question. How do we implement that at the middle school and at the high school?
We're working on it.
And maybe a follow-up as to how the students are progressing during the 3 hours that the teachers are planning. I know they're going to different sections, but what progress is being made during that time?
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next report we have is item 8D. Electronic scoreboard update. Absolutely.
President Mesa, members of the board, I'll be making a presentation. Coach McCray is in Laredo. There's just a whole lot of activities with golf and playoffs and different meetings, so he's pretty much living in Laredo this week, so you get me instead. I want to talk about the scoreboard. I know that we gave y'all an update last week, but I wanted to, or the last board meeting, but I wanted to share with you where we are today because we will be making a recommendation later on in the meeting. First part that we have to share with you is that the current scoreboard, which is not as big as the scoreboard we're going to recommend today, is a traditional scoreboard. It just has one display that you have to pre-program, and it's currently in desperate need of repair, should I say replacement, because it's very difficult to fix it. We'd be better off replacing it. So because we're better off replacing it, we have to think of the different options. Now, to replace the scoreboard, the same scoreboard we have, it will cost about $261,000. So already the district would be on the hook for $261,000. This scoreboard, however, does not give us something that we desperately need at Walter Leverton Stadium, and that's a new sound system. So again, we could replace the scoreboard for only $261,000. Truth be said, we could get some anchor sponsor for the scoreboard that would cover some of the costs. But again, no sound system. And you know, at graduation, and those of you that attend other events there, you see how terrible the sound system is. So now we talk about a new video scoreboard that will play the live video, that we can have marketing videos that our students in the CT department would lead, like it was previously explained the last time we tried to buy a scoreboard. We would get an incredible sound system with this scoreboard. So those of you that attend events in the Laredo districts, or even in the Eagle Pass districts, that's the same sound system we would be getting. And again, you can see where it has the sponsors that they're at the top and some at the bottom. So then where are we with the sponsors? To date, Texas Community Bank, Rudy's Barbecue, DLP Cleaning Services, and McDonald's have all signed agreements pledging $80,000 apiece to the scoreboard. And for the premier sponsors at $40,000, Buffalo Wings and Rings, Board of Federal Credit Union, and Val Verde County Hospital District, they each pledged $40,000. We still have 3 spots pending, one at the top and 2 at the bottom. And these are the entities that are still having their discussions, and at least hopefully 2 of them will commit. So just in analyzing it, if you look at the total amount that's already been pledged, it's $440,000 compared to the $760,000 that it would cost. Our current balance right now is $320,000. Replacing the scoreboard the way it is right now would cost about $260,000. So that means that our contribution, above and beyond what it would cost just to replace the scoreboard, would be an additional $60,000. But as I mentioned earlier, we get that sound system that we so desperately need at Walter Leverton Stadium. So today, we are going to be recommending to you the purchase of a video scoreboard. Because the district in the end is going to be responsible for the entire amount, we'll be asking for you to approve the whole $720,000, but just know in advance that the money that's being pledged by the entities will be paid directly to the district. Are there any questions?
So you read my mind of what that sponsorship look like. That's what promised. But from a counting standpoint, how does that work? It's almost like we're spending money before we have. Almost specific amount for that project. We pick up the slack of what's left over. So I want to make sure that today is the right time. So 64, should we chase all the sponsorships? The sponsorship that we've got for a specific account that we need. Close it down. Almost be.
So the way it works is the board approves the entire amount, okay, and pays the entire amount. The only thing that we have is a signed commitment from every one of the sponsors that they will pay the money. We don't, and we're not counting on the other $160,000. We're confident that at some point somebody's going to step up and say, you know, I'll buy the slots that are still there, whether it's Bank and Trust or Chick-fil-A or somebody. So right now, we're sharing with the board that we don't have $320,000 accounted for. There hasn't been sponsors, and even of the 320,000, we can only get 160,000 because that's all that's left on there.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of- For sure,
As far as,
accounting.
as far as being legal from accounting, the district is committing on the books for our audit purposes. We're committing the entire 720,000 because we can't. Promise to contribute to it is a promise to contribute to it, and I don't think that if somebody was going to default on it, that we'd have that it'd be worth going after them for it. The community partners that have always stood up with us, but
What's the lead time? Time of city, yes. Fabricated, installed.
if we do that within the next 30 days, we could have it up by the first home football. In other words, if we waited one more month, we'd be pushing it really close to getting it to the first football game, but it could still be done. Mr. Smith, board members, I'll say this. If we wait another 30 days, really the only thing we're gonna get is, at best, is another $160,000. And that money won't be in the bank, because we have to invoice all the partners for it. We would still contribute the 720, total amount, 700 plus $1,000.
$750 million investment with some promises.
Yes, sir. Now, I did talk to the superintendent in Laredo, because they did the same thing. And they started out looking for commitments, and they got those later, because they said, we're just gonna do it, probably for the same question that you have. Mr. Smith. It's just best if we plan that we're gonna pay for it, and if the commitments are there, it's great. So I see the wisdom behind your question, and that's why we have to just accept that the district is responsible for the whole amount. And we're just, it's a signed document, but really it's a handshake that we have with our sponsors that they're gonna provide the money.
I understand the concern, Mr. Smith. I think all of it. I know that a lot of legwork has been done by Frenchie, but I think we still have some work to do in regard to being a little bit more aggressive on approaching individuals that might be willing contributors.
Absolutely. We'll you know, we have 2 more spots to fill on, really 3 more, one at the top and 2 at the bottom. And we'll continue to work on it. But again, we have to start planning for what we're gonna do for next year.
Well, what's the longevity of those sponsorships?
4 years.
4 years. And then somebody else can buy that spot.
No, sir, it's, it's for the life of the scoreboard, I'm sorry.
So what did you mean by 4 years?
4 years is, every year they'll pay $20,000 towards, the spot. So if they were pledging 80,000, they commit 20,000 every year.
Got it. So that's not. 2, 10.
Correct.
So I didn't capture that part. And this is electronic display. I'm just trying to, so the deal goes sour first year.
absolutely. We can definitely go and change it and get a different spot.
So it's essentially an annual commitment, 20. All right. I think
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We were questioning, the live video display, which is the scoreboard. But, other questions that come up are maintenance, for example, I have seen personally some of the digital signs that were up, and some of them have been removed because of constant write down. What is the maintenance, or I guess a protection plan that we have for the life of the digital display?
So, there's a warranty on it. Can't recall the number of months, but we've agreed to build onto the scoreboard a ladder, but those platforms that they saw behind them, like catwalk behind it, for easy maintenance. And then after the warranty expires, I don't want to put Hector on the spot, because he's not the one that's been negotiating this, but that 4 months right there. And then we would buy extended warranty after that. And we're at pretty much like the same scoreboard that we have now.
So we have 6 to 12 months warranty, original
12.
12 months?
Oh, no,
Anyone else?
it's a good thing. I don't know, I feel like I've convinced y'all of it, but I believe in our partners, and we do need a new board, and we do need a new sound system. This just makes it more exciting, but I believe it's a good way to go, and I think that because we're a community, they're not gonna default on it, and we do need to fix what we have, and we're better off replacing it.
I'm just gonna, I think it's exciting. How they do it. When you take the two and couple them together in 1 year. And although some of that's potentially covered, which would be awesome. 60%. Start getting ahead of the delta between there. But the struggles. It's an exciting project. And having that there for all the events there inside and through the next great good stuff.
So probably one thing that I can share with the board was that, we tried this 4 years ago. But 4 years ago, we didn't need a new scoreboard. So 4 years ago, we were in the same position where we needed one more anchor sponsor and a couple more at the bottom. But at the time, because the scoreboard that we had and the sound system was still doing okay with some annual maintenance, I didn't want to ask the board for that extra money. But right now, we do have to replace the scoreboard that we have. So then I feel more confident saying it's a need that we have, so it justifies the money that the district will commit to. And then I would just tell you that this is the second time that we go and tell sponsors, will you participate in this? And some of them have said yes.
That's a good solid commitment. Chase that a second time, but
I'm sorry, Paula got me the correct information. It's a 2 years part in on-site labor, additional 3 years in parts for a total of 5 years with Daktronics coverage. So it really is a total of a 5-year warranty.
5-year warranty.
Yes, sir. Oh, that pushes right over the edge.
I mean, it helps, yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, a lot better.
Well, that's a difference. Quite a difference. I know the coaches have been, I know when I see some of the coaches, they always ask me, have you gone to Eagle Pass? You know, to one of the games, and they see the big Jumbotron. When are we getting it? So it's exciting. I think the big answer that we got is from Paula right now with the 5 years. It's a big difference. Anyone else?
If I can, I'm sorry for not yielding, but I'm gonna ask one more question because I think it's pretty important. When you look at our media department, what is the gain there that using that board for stuff?
It's huge. So 4 years ago, when we were trying to do this, Mr. Roger Gonzalez came before the board, presented what an awesome opportunity it would be curriculum-wise for the media department and what they could do, because essentially a lot of the students would be running it. So not only would be some work for them during events, but there's just a whole lessons to be gathered from that, from different entities, and that would continue to add value to what our students are learning.
Go back to
Okay, we're good.
Good.
Thank you. Next
Thank you,
item that
Paul.
we have is the consent agenda, item 9 on the agenda. Again, there's minutes from meetings, there's financial statements, there's purchase orders, there's donations. If you have an item that needs to be either pulled or you have a question on, now would be the time. And in the meantime, Ms. Gonzalez, would you read the donations first?
Yes, sir. Lion Banker donated $125 to the Royal High School Athletic Department. Chick-fil-A donated a total of $303 to Director Bobby Barrera Elementary. Garfield Elementary received the following donations. Carmen Troches, $10  2 cases of water. Rosa Sosa, $3 2 cases of water. Rosina Venegas, $50 popcorn, chips, and crackers. Claudia Ramon, $90 chips, cookies, and sodas. Rosa Mendoza, $10 goldfish and chewy and vanilla bars. Lorena Guerrero, $10 Cheez-Its and peanut butter cookies. Maria Dorman, $5 and lots of popcorn. Myra Ramirez, $4.70 for 1 case of water. Benedict Cannery received the following donations. Edna Morales, $25 for 1 jacket. Janet Espino, $30 for 1 jacket. Adorned by Diana, $26 for 1 jacket. Red Cycling Studio, $55, 2 jackets. Veronica Allred, $21.64 for 1 jacket. Lacquered Nail Salon, $65 for 2 jackets. Carla Roberto Realtor, $40 for 1 jacket. Texas Ready of DSHS and BBRMC, $75 for 25 backpacks. Other donations were Michelle Cervantes, $65.12 to Dr. Pena Calderon Elementary for 12 boxes of juice jars and 4 boxes of cookies. Banco Internacional de Alimentos, $23,615.80 to Lamar Elementary for 63 boxes of alcohol wipes, a pallet, and 20 boxes of face masks. Del Rio Ram Baseball Booster Club, $5,455.77 to the Del Rio High School Athletics for 2021 late CFMATO model, CF100AU, and Dragline. Contrails Topping LLC, $100 to North Heights Elementary for 16 gift cards. Walmart, $300 to North Heights Elementary for 300 coloring books. Walmart, $100 to North Heights Elementary for 15 video books. International Food Bank, $21,426.48 to Benavides Elementary for 1 pallet of alcohol wipes and 1 pallet of youth face masks. Bronx International Element, $21,226.48 to Barbara Elementary for 1 pallet of hand sanitizer wipes and 1 pallet of youth face masks. Buffalo Wings and Rings, $250. Loreto Bobby Barrera Elementary for URL shirts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Any questions? As always, I just want to acknowledge all the donations. We're thankful for individuals and organizations and businesses out there contributing to our district. And as always, thank you, and we appreciate everything you do for us. Board members, is there any item that needs to be pulled on?
I don't know about pool, but.
Okay, Mr. Smith. What item?
Say C1, G.
See, one, it's an only valid semi-true, Article 22-09. Dr. Ruth?
This is the van that we'd like to purchase eventually for band. C1 only approves the bid item. The actual purchase of it, that's not on this agenda.
Yep. Yep, I got it. So my question is, because, I mean, these trailers are designed to run millions of miles. Have we looked at getting used equipment bid to get retrofitted versus new equipment?
That's right, I believe we looked at new equipment, is that correct, Ms. Johnson?
And what the benefit might be at that time? You know, I mean, you look at the mileage, something that's not.
Apologize, Mr. Smith, I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, so, sorry, I didn't pull this up, Chris. When we were looking specifically at the trailer, I'm not necessarily worried about the tractor side of it, which is the smaller piece of it. Did we look at any used options there, primarily because those trailers are designed to run millions of miles, not hundreds of thousands of miles. Through the life of it, we won't put millions of miles on a piece of equipment, so.
To my knowledge, we did not look at any used items. We bid it out through interlocals and they were all new.
Can I ask one more question? Now I have to ask the band director to come up, but the trailers that we're getting, I believe that they're retrofitted to fit or to be able to store a lot of the equipment, is that correct? And the retrofitting, at least the companies that do it, work mainly with new trailers. I don't, are you aware of anybody bringing in an old trailer and having it retrofitted? Somebody else?
For clarity, just for clarity, because I'm not really talking about an old piece of equipment, I'm talking about a relatively new, if that's it.
Everything on these bids where it's new equipment. The trailer, what they do is that they purchase it and then they do all the decking on the inside. It'll have a lower level, upper level with some ramps that lead up. So it's new equipment and then they'll fit everything so that we can actually hang our uniforms, put equipment away. Everything that we use, even some props, hopefully will fit on there as well.
But are you aware of anybody retrofitting a used trailer? for that same purpose and then having it wrapped?
Yes, they can, I mean, you can, sometimes there's some, bands that want to get a new trailer and they have a used one, they need some tender loving care, and they'll sell them off. The only problem with that, I would imagine, is of course it's, it's used, and so you got to look at. So I mean, I'm not too familiar how exactly all that works, but it does happen. But again, I know that everything that we bidded out was for new equipment.
So, Mr. Mesa and members of the board, approving the bid item doesn't commit us to purchasing the trailer. So we'll approve the bid item today as presented within the next 30 days, and certainly before we bring any recommendation for purchase to the board, we'll fully explore possibilities on the used trailer. That way, if we don't go the used trailer route, we at least have the bid approved already.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't want to hold them up. I think there's very reputable people in this country that do nothing but manage that kind of, not necessarily wore out, that kind of used equipment, but that could be taken and retrofitted. And as far as the life expectancy, still have the same, if not more life expectancy in the district we've ever had on a trailer.
The question on the second item you have is also, I think, one of Mr. Rios' item. The show, what was the letter on it? F3, you said?
G line, and I just don't know what that is, because I mean, what would that, what is marching band production? I thought that's what we do. So what is that?
That's we have a consultant that organizes everything for us. I mean, basically now our marching shows are nothing short of a Broadway production. And so what this person will be doing is getting all the different designers. There's a drill writer. There's the person that does the music. There's the color guard integration. There's electronics that are added. And so what this person does is she organizes all that and then just gives us a finished product to where we just teach the show after it's all.
So they're basically designing the production of the band will perform.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just worded. Okay. So,
Anyone else? Okay, again, a reminder, one action, we'll approve all items on the consent agenda. If you don't have any further questions, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Mr. Smith, yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We go on to administration. First item that we have under administration is going to be the 10A, consideration to amend and ratify the order of election for the San Felipe Latino CISD School Board elections to be held May 7th, 2022. Sandra Fernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Bessa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. In compliance with the election code, the Board of Trustees must approve the order of election, establishing the procedures for filing and conducting a school board election. The order of election for the school district election was initially approved on January the 18th. However, in late February, a final determination and a change was made by the Joint Election Committee to designate locations and hours for early voting by personal appearance. And you have with you a new amended copy of the locations and times. The early voting period for the general election begins Monday, April 25th and ends on Tuesday, May the 3rd. Early voting will be conducted each weekday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. throughout the course of the early voting period. In addition, early voting will be available on Saturday, April 30th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Sunday, May 1st from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m.
All early voting will be conducted at the Del Rio Civic Center, Red Oak Ballroom located at 1915 Veterans Boulevard here in Del Rio. In addition to that, the polls on Election Day will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The polling places on Election Day shall be shared jointly with the City of Del Rio's municipal election and the Val Verde County Hospital District for their hospital board election. The polling locations have been changed. You will see that we're working with securing poll workers and election workers. They will be Joe Ramos facility for precincts 10, 11, 12, and 13. The Del Rio Civic Center for precincts 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. 4-H Barnes County Fairgrounds, precincts 30, 31, and 33. And St. Joseph's Parish Hall, precinct 40, 41, 42, and 43. Are there any questions from the board?
On one of these forms that we received, you have 5 places and you have 4 here. You left out 32, precinct 32.
There is one that is from Comstock, and because it is a school board election for the district, we do not include the Comstock precinct.
All right, so we just scratch it out from the.
Yes. That is from the county, yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks. Any questions? We're good. Okay, so the one in the book is absolute. It's the one that was amended. Is it
It's the
correct?
most recent, yes.
The, if we don't have questions, then there's the recommendation.
The recommendation, sir, yes, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the amended order of election for school district trustee elections to be held on May 7th, 2022.
Or the recommendation from the administration. A motion made by Mr. Cabrera, seconded by Mr. Forfelt. All those in favor? There is unanimous.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Item 11, curriculum instruction. 11A, consideration to approve an agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Val Verde Nursing and the Facilitation Center, Rehab Center, for the purpose of providing health science certified nursing assistant CNA students with a training site to conduct the clinical portion requirement of the CNA program. Items for Roger. Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This memorandum of understanding is to allow Valverde Nursing and Rehab Center and Nursing Facility to continue to serve as a clinical training site for students enrolled in our CNA program. We kind of put a postponement to that due to the pandemic the last 2 years, but they're back and they want to provide this service. This medical facility will provide students with opportunities for continued knowledge and skill by having members of their staff to serve as role models and mentors to residents and residents as patients. Students will then obtain their 40-hour training requirement. This agreement will continue to the end of the 2024-25 school year and automatically renewed for 1 year unless terminated in accordance with the provisions of the agreement. The MOU is provided for your review under a separate cover. Any questions?
Questions? This is an ongoing agreement.
Correct.
No questions, so recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent to sign the agreement with Valverde Nursing and Rehab Center as presented.
Heard the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Carries unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 11B, consideration of approval of the 2022-2023 memorandum of understanding between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College for the purpose of continuing a partnership with Early College High School and Pathways to Technology, UTEC. Items.
Thank you. Thank you, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. The agreement is made between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College for the continuation of early college high school and pathways in technology dual credit courses. The agreement outlines the duties and responsibilities of both the district and the junior college. The guiding principles include a mutual beneficial arrangement between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe CISD Early College High School that allows a flexible and creative response to the organizational, fiscal, and missions needs of all students. The collaboration in planning, implementation, and continuous improvement of the early college, high school, and P-TECH program, including the provision for faculty, staff, administration, curriculum development, training, and student services. The provision of rigorous college readiness, dual credit, and early college credit courses, financial collaboration that addresses cost of all partners and assists each in obtaining necessary funds from local, state, federal, and private foundation sources to operate the program successfully and to vertically align the curriculum focus that promotes a college-going culture by all parties, teachers, college faculty, counselors, and academic advisors. The contract is under separate cover. However, there have been two minor changes to the actual memorandum of understanding, and we did place a copy on your desk. If you just look quickly, you'll see that on page 6, most of the corrections were made by Mr. Garabedian today, and he sent a clean copy. The two that are still highlighted, though, I just wanted to point out. On page 6, we did add the word assigned. Originally, it had said that we would have a lead counselor, and we don't have an assigned lead counselor, so therefore the counselor that's assigned, usually in alpha order or at the college, early college high school, would be the one to coach the students. So we just put assigned as a clarity word. It's just clarifying that whoever the counselor is for that group of students will be making the counseling recommendations. Also on page 9 of the agreement, the early college high school had asked that all invoices be itemized. We do receive an invoice, but it takes a lot of work to itemize costs for credit, textbooks, and so forth. So we just included that word, and those were the only changes that were not made to the new policy.
Okay, this is not in the one in the book, but it was amended and just given to every board. Highlighted in yellow. Any questions? from board? Hearing none, recommendation.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent of schools to sign the memorandum of understanding between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College for the continuation of the early college high school and pathways in technology dual credit program as presented.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Motion carries. Abstain. Okay. Motion carries, one abstention. Thank you very much. Item 11C, consideration to approve a dual credit partnership agreement between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Del Rio CISD for the 2023 school year. Items.
Yes, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Along with early college high school and P-TECH, we also have dual credit courses taking place at Del Rio High School. Therefore, you'll see here that we have a dual credit partnership agreement between our district, which would be the high school, and Southwest Texas Junior College. The dual credit partnership is an operational plan for delivery of the dual credit courses for the upcoming school year. All the college courses offered for dual credit must contain 3 areas. It is the core curriculum of the public institution of higher education that provides the credit. It's a career and technical educational course, CTE, or it's a foreign language course. Southwest Texas will continue to offer dual credit classes at a reduced cost, which is based strictly on the tuition and waiving all other fees. Textbooks will be available at reduced rates to the district through the Texas Bookstore. and San Felipe Del Rio has received a copy of the upcoming academic school year course offerings to confirm the dual credit schedules. Again, that partnership was under separate cover, but we also had a couple of corrections to this one, which is the one entitled Dual Credit Partnership Agreement. And on that one, again, I put the corrections in blue. On the third page, you'll see there that we added the word assigned rather than the lead counselor. It will be assigned Del Rio High School or CTE. It should say counselor. We do not have lead counselors in the district. We did meet with Mr. Garabedian on that. And the same goes for the itemized invoices. They were just asking that everything be itemized, so we did add those two words.
So just as a reminder, board members, that we do have an amended version. One in the book is obsolete. Questions from board? No questions and recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent of schools to sign the dual credit partnership agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Southwest Texas Junior College as presented.
Read the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Wood, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Carries with 6, 1 abstention. Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you.
Next item we have in our curriculum is technology and operations, item 12. Item 12A, consideration to approve change order with Frontera Construction LLC in the amount of $16,988. Funding source, committed funds for the life skills interior renovation project at the Del Rio Freshman School. Israel Ferraro.
Good evening, Board President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. During the exterior renovations, existing walls were cut out and prep for the installation of new windows and doors. This caused two issues. First, the reduction in insulation, and second, created structural problems over openings. Remedies to be implemented are first, R10 insulation will be placed on the interior of the SMU walls, and second, headers and lintels will be placed over the openings.
Questions, Ms. Holford?
So correct me if I'm wrong, the group that was doing it before, there were some errors, or there were, that they committed, or there were architectural errors from our architects that ultimately led to this problem?
Architectural errors.
And I don't know if we can talk about in open session. Are we doing anything to remedy that problem with that architect, or is that something that is behind closed doors? Because I know it's contract and stuff like that, so I don't know how that works.
We've resolved it.
Okay.
Through legal matters, and I can update the board.
Okay.
Anyone else? So we'll get some more explanation on this.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I updated the board a couple weeks ago when I shared that because of some of the errors, we have to go ahead and make the repairs, and that I would bring this item for the board to approve, but that I didn't feel safe waiting to make the repairs. This is the, actually both, no, this is the one item that we've already done. But I did share with the board that I was gonna go ahead and give the go-ahead to do it just because I didn't want the problem to be. So it's been corrected.
If I remember correctly, it was added weight, and cinder block was not going to hold unless there were additional supports in place. Anyone else with a question? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve change order with Frontera Construction LLC in the amount of $16,988 for the life skills renovation project at Del Rio Freshman School.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith. Warfelt. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimous. Item 12D, consideration to ratify change order with JP Construction Company Incorporated for a credit of $2,954.41. Funding source, bond proceeds and general funds for the Ceniza Hills Elementary School project. Ms. Ruffalo.
Again, good evening, Board President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Request for the door hardware to match what we have throughout the district, an additional conduit for technology for future use. Also to reduce the number of downspouts, which in turn reduces the number of sidewalk drains, and revise the ceramic tile pattern in the restrooms. Changes decrease the contract amount. Any questions?
Questions? Hearing none, recommendation?
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees ratify the change order with JP Construction Company Incorporated with a credit of $2,954.49 for Ceniza Hills Elementary School project.
Heard the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimously. Okay, 7 minutes. Thank you very much. Go on to item 14, human resources. Item 14A, consideration to approve a new crossing guard position for the San Felipe de los ASD School Police Department. Jose Garcia.
Good evening again, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Tonight, administration is requesting their approval for a new position as a crossing guard due to the high volume of traffic in the intersection of Early College High School, Southwest Texas Junior College, and Del Rio High School. This position will be funded through the available monies available through the unfilled vacancies. Any questions?
Mr. Smith.
From a, you've got two crosswalks that you're gonna cover with one position.
Yes, sir. If you look at the connection between Early College High School and Southwest Texas, there's two areas that students can walk.
Yeah.
Our role is going to be to train the students to just choose one of them. Because if we look at where accidents happen, we need to train our students to use the opposite one so we can protect them. Now, there is another area where students cross from early college back to the high school. That one we haven't had accidents before. It's on the other side.
The higher traffic speed. And then how does that work in the previous contract with the college? They don't have a responsibility in that traffic. It's a joint position there.
That's good.
Good try, Mr. Smith. Anyone else?
I'm glad we're doing it because I see it every day. I have students that come into my class in the morning and constantly tell me I nearly got hit. So I think having law enforcement out there, hopefully very visible, will slow a lot of that down. Then maybe sometime in the future, if we cut that new road, we can reduce it even further.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Warfelt. Ms. Warfelt. There is, there's a high traffic area in that corner between Early College and university work. And then some of these students are not being, I guess, they're not recognizing cars that are coming in what proximity these vehicles are moving. Because they're kind of distracted. If they're looking different. Yes, absolutely. So it's really, I just hope that we can train them to cross that area, which is a lot, like, it seems to be narrow than the other area by the bus loading area. So, any other board members that come out and recommendation, please?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve a new crossing guard position for the San Felipe Del Rio CISD School Police Department as presented.
With the recommendation, motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, discussion and possible action to approve employee job descriptions and evaluation forms for same position. Rebecca,
Yes, sir. With the approval of the new position, we are recommending the job description as well as the evaluation instrument for the crossing guard. And then we have an update for our administrative director. So in the administrative director, you can see the new responsibilities have been added in blue, and in red, some items were removed. Do you have any questions on those two job descriptions?
any questions on the, especially the update on the administrative director? No questions, recommendation?
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job descriptions and evaluation forms as discussed.
With the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mrs. Webb, seconded by Mr. Contreras. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, consideration to approve updates to the 2021-2022 district compensation plans.
Yes, sir. On the auxiliary pay plan, we're including the crossing guard listed under pay grade 2. We're also going to include it on the hourly for 182 days. And also, just to clarify the part-time temporary pay, we had removed the extra duty and included extra duty for mitigation of learning loss. There's other duties that staff performs that do not involve learning loss. So then those are going to be what they used to be at $25, and those are added back in blue. And then the mitigation for learning loss, that stays at $40 for the professionals. And for paraprofessionals, it's $12. Again, that's what it used to be before, but the mitigation for learning loss, that would be $19.20. So this would indicate a difference. If they're doing for learning loss, then it's a little bit more pay because of the ESSER funds. And if it's not learning loss, then it's what it used to be in previous years. Those are the only updates.
Guess I have a question on the crossing guard, the pay plan. We don't have 182.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's an update because we noticed that it wasn't on there. So we want to add it 182 days.
So we have a minimum and a midpoint, maximum.
Yes, sir.
We start minimum.
The minimum, it's $11.03, the midpoint $13.79, and the maximum $16.55.
So where did this start?
Yes, in the past, we struggled because we were using a custodian for that process services. And when we talked to Chief Foss, is that we recognize that just takes somebody with just a little bit more skill and aptitude that he could train. So really, our hope is that we are able to recruit somebody who would be just exceptional in comparison to other individuals who tried that job before, and hopefully pay him or her enough money to stay there and be it's gonna be a whole day event versus just certain time.
Any other questions? Recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve updates to the 2021-2022 district compensation pay plan as presented.
I've read the recommendation from administration, motion made by Mr. Smith. Is there a second to the motion? Amy Haynes, seconded the motion. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 14D, consideration to approve the 2022-2023 school year calendar. Ed Eggers.
Yes, earlier we presented the survey for the calendar, so now we would like to make the recommendation. And is there any other questions on the calendar before I move to the recommendation?
No, I think we, this,
So it is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2022-2023 school year calendar as presented, which is option 2.
with the recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The time is 8:02 p.m. We're going into closed session pursuant to policy 551.074 and 551.071. It's the education code. We are now in closed session. The time is 9:23 p.m. No action was taken in executive. We're down to item 14, human resources, 14A. Consideration to approve a new crossing guard position for the San Felipe Del CISD School Police Department by Ed Eggers.
I think we're on personnel.
Item 18A. Consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Drop them. I read the one before I missed it. Okay. Item 18A.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resignations, vacancy, and following new hire. Sofia Arroyo, pre-kindergarten teacher at Irene Parkville Elementary. Alyssa Seibel, fifth grade teacher at Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. Monica Rubio, English teacher at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Isabel Chavarria, mathematics teacher at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. CTE teacher for Project Lead the Way, Wendy Staffen. Francisco Escobedo, theater arts teacher for Del Rio High School.
To put the recommendation from the administration, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries. Personnel report is approved. Go to item 18B. Consideration to approve teacher contracts. Ed Eggers.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the teacher contracts as discussed behind closed session. And that is 2 non-chapter 21 probationary contracts, 21 continuing contracts, 98 probationary contracts, 104 term 2 contracts, 116 term 3 contracts, for a total of 341.
With recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18C, consideration to approve the administrator and professional contracts. Ed Eggers.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the administrator and professional contracts as discussed in closed session to include 3 continuing contracts, 15 non-chapter 21 probationary contracts, 4 non-chapter 21 term 2 contracts, 3 non-chapter 21 term 3 contracts, 3 probationary, 14 term 2, and 49 term 3, for a total of 91.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Mr. Contreras, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Item 18D, consideration to approve the position of educational diagnostician for the special education department at Bay Garcia.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Mrs. Crystal Cardenas as educational diagnostician for the special education department.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Motion made by Amy Haynes, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Administration has tabled item E, item F, and item G. Dr. Rios, you have any other announcements?
No, sir, other than, we'll be looking to have the next April regular board meeting, Tuesday after the Easter holiday. We'll appoint the board to a board meeting that week.
I think one other committee member will be coming from Amy Haynes. We'll select those. There being no other items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Mr. Smith, yes, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We adjourn. Good night, everyone.